All right, well, good morning, everybody. Hi, Olivia. Hi, Alex. Good to see you, Shireen, April, Kimberly, Georgina, good to see you.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, good to see you. We're gonna get started in about 2 minutes. So just to make sure that the chat's working, if you go ahead and put in where you're tuning in from in the world today, we'd love to hear from you. Again, it's so fun to see this global community growing and see where you're all tuning in from in the world. And just for sound quality, I'm going to mute all of us. Awesome. Florida, New York, Solana Beach. Oh, hi, Bindi. Good to see you. Canada. Alex is in the UK. So cool. Hi, Amy in Arizona. Jamie in Washington. Kathleen's in Boston. Such a great city. Mo's in Oakland, way to represent the Bay Area. Hi, Mo. Michigan. Hi, Noel. Awesome. Good morning, Shireen. Hi, Patrick. Good to see you. It's been a little while. All right, grab your coffee or your beverage, maybe your oatmeal like I have mine, and we'll get ready to learn some Excel.
I'm a big fan of smoothies in the morning, some fruit smoothies.
Smoothies are always good.
Yeah, I have
on the lighter side. Always good. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. It is 8:30 on Friday, September 3rd. My name is Carly. I am our events and community director here at Learnit, and so thrilled to be here with you on this Friday morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn with us. With me, I have my colleague Marissa Ruiz, who is our events and community coordinator, and our incredible instructor, Faz Kareem, who will be leading us in this back to basics in Excel session. Before we get started, I just want to welcome all of you, both our veterans who have been here and attending week over week, and also those of you who are maybe new to Learnit or just checking us out. We are a learning and development organization based out of San Francisco, California. And our goal is, one, to make learning and training more accessible to everyone around the world, and also to help managers, teams at large, and also individuals upskill and really learn the skills and techniques needed to thrive in the workforce and the economy of today, and also adapt and stay resilient in the workforce of tomorrow and into 2022 and beyond. So thank you so much for being here with us. If you are a current client at Learnit, if you've been attending these events week over week, thank you so much for being here. A little bit more about how these specific sessions work. They're really designed to give you a taste and a flavor of what our full-length workshops look like. So we have full-length workshops on Excel. And so this session is meant to give you a flavor of what those weekly sessions look like and provide you with actionable things that you can go back and take back to your desk right after today. So this is part of a weekly community event series. And we also host these events, these community events, based on a monthly theme. So our monthly theme for September is Excel Power User. We'll be having a whole sequence of programming this month to help you build on your skills in Excel, starting the month with this basics session. And per usual, they're led by subject matter experts, our internal team of expert instructors, such as Faz. And we also bring in guest speakers and thought leaders just to bring us all new and fresh ideas as well. So with that, I really want to introduce you all to Faz Kareem. Faz is an expert in business applications and data analysis. He is an educator, an instructional program designer, and a project manager. And Faz designs and leads some of the largest projects and technology rollouts for some of our largest clients. So when people are going through adopting all Office 365 products, Faz will be designing the curriculum and rolling those out for some of our biggest companies around the world. And he also oversees the design of those programs. So with that, I want to introduce you to Faz. Faz, thanks so much for being here, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, everybody. I see we have such a large audience right now, 107. I'm so nervous. I'm just kidding. That actually makes me really excited. I always like to start out my sessions letting everyone know that I'm very thankful for everyone just giving me an hour of their time. Today's session is about an hour long because it's Excel. There's so much to talk about. And with that being said, let me share my PowerPoint and ask you a couple of questions here, because today's session is called Back to the Basics. And what that means here is we'll talk about Excel from a ground level. But before we begin, how about you tell me a little bit about yourself? I just want to know how you're doing. And because we're talking about Excel, there's no right or wrong answer to this. What do you consider yourself? A beginner, an intermediate user, or an advanced user? Where would you personally label yourself as here? No right or wrong answer. Let me know inside the chat box there. Well, we have a begin-intermediate group. That's what it's looking like to me. Think I'm a beginner between intermediate. Okay. I'm doing great. That's good to hear. Using it for database mostly, not financials. Okay. So we're storing data, not really using it to do calculations and build spreadsheets. We'll talk about that today. Beginner, nice. Most at advanced, I like. Not very good in Excel, so I'm a beginner. I use it for data management. Nice to see and hear you again. Thank you for making it again. This PowerPoint just has the topic list, but yes, we'll provide it inside of Offsite. Yes, I'll send it out to Marissa and Carly. Now in this session here, we do have an hour. So we do have a lot of time. I will be asking you questions as I go along, but the topics that I want to focus on and back to the basics in Excel is supposed to cover, these are supposed to be covered in my Excel introduction course that we teach. It's a full day course with 2 different modules. But these are the 6 highlights that we pulled from the course. Today, I want to just talk about the overview of Excel's interface. I want to talk about things like the start screen, things like the ribbon, how we can hide it, how we can go ahead and change the display settings to it. Yeah, this session is also being recorded, like Carly mentioned in there. I also, because I have the newest version of Excel, I have Office 365. There's various ways that you can do calculations to do a sum, a max, a min. If you're on a PC, you have the quick analysis tool. We also have auto sum. We have keyboard shortcuts to even do functions. So I want to talk about certain things like calculations and then talk about how we can format the spreadsheet, make it look pretty, make it look presentable. But I don't want to spend too much time doing that. No one does. It's formatting cells, changing font styles. So you can actually create and save your own font styles in workbooks. So with that being said, a majority of this session, because it's only an hour long, is a demo. I do ask questions as I go along through this demo, and I open up Excel from scratch, and I create the workbook from scratch myself. Now, I just want to give you a little background, a little scenario that I want to do. There's something that I want to create here today, and by the end of the hour, I hopefully have it created. I actually want to build a spreadsheet in Excel to track my weekly sales. For all of the servers that I have in a restaurant, I have a restaurant that I want to track, and it's actually called Faz Food. It's a pretty catchy name. I know, you don't need to tell me. I've already talked to marketing. They're like, we nailed it with that. Now, fast food here has a couple servers, and we just want to track their weekly sales to see if they're going to hit their bonuses. And we also want to have a note section on this report page. And I want to show you how I build this spreadsheet and how I can reuse it every week or every month when a different situation comes around and I have to fill out new data. Sophia asked a good question. Should we be working in the spreadsheet too, or should we be just taking notes? This class is designed to be a demo, meaning it's not something you have to follow along with every click that I do. Some participants do. I mean, I'm not going to stop you if you do, but the session is being recorded. So if you want to do that after, where you can pause and continue, that might be better suited for you if you feel like you're a beginner in Excel, of course. Yeah, so it's totally up to you, but I'm not going to stop you if you do want to partake along, but definitely remember that we do have a recording for that purpose, so you can watch and practice at your own e-learning pace. Now, let's slowly begin. For the people that just popped in, my name is Faz Kareem, and we're just talking about some basics in Excel. And I'm going to create a spreadsheet to track some sales that the servers are doing in a restaurant that I have. It's not a real restaurant, although there is a restaurant called Faz. I'm going to go ahead and click on this here. Dolores said, for those of us with the 2016 version, will there be a big difference between that and 365? No, not in this session. Not too many features we're going to touch that will be different between 2016 and 365. And I'll make a call out if I do realize there is one. I'll point it out to you. But there will be one if you are on a Mac. If you're on a Mac versus a PC, there's a feature called the Quick Analysis tool that won't be available if you're on a Mac. But it's not a big deal. I'll show you another way of doing it still. Let's just take our time here, and I just want to point out for the beginners, maybe even intermediate users, that when Excel was released in 2013, they invented this new screen. It's called the Start screen. It's actually there in Word. It's there in PowerPoint. It happens when you launch the application. And it's a special area that we can go to access in our scope templates. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, what is a template? By default, Excel has built-in workbooks for very common and generic tasks that you have to do, like build a calendar, build a budget report. I don't use those too often, but I do end up creating my own templates for my own job needs, like that budget report for the breakdown of the sales. I want to reuse that every week. So what I'm going to do here is I actually want to create a workbook out of an entirely blank workbook. And once I end up filling in the data and making it look pretty, adding in my company, title, formatting, colors, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it as a template so that the next month comes around and I need to fill in the new data. I can go to the Start screen and access the templates that I've built, a custom template. Now, before I click on that blank workbook here, I just want to ask you, are you using custom templates yet? With the yes, I am, or not yet? Not yet, would like to. Cool. We're going to see how we can save this workbook as a template today. Let me click on this blank workbook here. Great. Now there's something I want to point out. In Excel, in Word, in PowerPoint, even in Outlook, when you're using these tools, the top of the screen is called the ribbon. That's just the terminology they've had since 2007. There's a special area on the ribbon that I want you to know about. It's in the upper right-hand corner, and it actually does quite a big difference when it changes the way the ribbon looks. It changes the view of the ribbon. And I just want to point out that this drastically will adjust the way you use Excel, Word, PowerPoint, or Outlook. And the most traditional setting that I use is to show the tabs so that I can see home, insert, page layout, as well as the command groups. I want to see all of my tools at all times. Now, a setting that I don't like using too often is auto hide, because that's going to hide my tools. And if I hide the tools there, it's going to be kind of difficult for me to use these things as I'm building my spreadsheet, because I have to click up there every time just to look at my toolbar. I'm just going to go back here and show tabs and commands so that it permanently stays there. Now I'm also going to go to the bottom of my spreadsheet here because there's about 127 people watching me. And there's a zoom slider. The zoom slider. And I just want to zoom into it really quickly just so I can make the cells nice and large as I start typing. There we go. Cool. Now, with this ribbon here, we get to adjust the tools and edit the workbook. But I also just want to point out that before I begin, if you're a new user to Excel, we have this area on the left-hand side on the corner there that has two little arrows. It's had two arrows since 2013. Just know that if you receive a workbook and you do a right click in that area, it's going to open up a window called the Activate window. I always get asked in my sessions from users saying, hey, is there a table of contents? Do you have a table of contents for workbooks? Because I get sent workbooks with 5 or 6, 7 different worksheets. The Activate window is a table of contents. And if you do a right click on that, it's simply going to show you all of the sheet names. And you can use it as a navigation window to navigate from sheet to sheet. So on sheet 1 over here, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a name. I'm just going to double click into it and I'm going to call it fast food monthly sales. There we go. I'm just adding in a little title there for myself. And I also, in cell A1, I want to print out this eventually so I can put it on the bulletin board. I'm going to add the company title there. I'm going to put fast food. But since I'm printing this, I don't want to just leave it black and white. There's certain things that I want to do to it. I want to format it. So I have a question for everybody. When you're building Excel spreadsheets, do you spend your time changing the font styles, maybe even adding cell shading or changing the font colors? Is this something that you do periodically as you're building your spreadsheets? Let me know with a yes, I do, or a no. I imagine most users, when they're building something, if they're going to print it, they're going to put color onto it. They're going to put color onto it. Let me undo this really quick. You have the ability someone's like, I haven't, but I think I'm about to find out why I should. You actually have the ability to use something called cell styles. This is going to save you time. So if you are a person that's sitting there formatting and coloring and making your spreadsheets presentable for printing, you might want to look into using cell styles to do that. Because what it does, and just to let you know, if you're on a little laptop right now, it looks a little different when your screen's small. You see how the window changes for cell styles, but when you're on a larger screen, it shows up as a big old window. But let me go ahead and open that up. Just in case you're on a small screen, it might look a little different. there are actually built-in style sets that you can use to format things inside of your worksheets. Now you might be looking at, oh, these are generic. There's not too many differences in them. There is. Let me pick a little title style here. I'm going to pick a title style. And there's also a slogan we have. Always fast, always fresh. I know, we kind of gypped it from Subway, but it's okay. And I'm just going to go add a style to that as well. I'm just going to put maybe a heading 4 to it, maybe a little smaller, a heading 3. There we go. Now this looks pretty plain. But if you want in Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, when you actually do utilize cell styles, what that allows you to do is take advantage of something called themes. These cell styles can drastically change. You can change the font, the color, and the effects by going to your page layout tab and adjusting the theme of the workbook. Now, when I open up the page layout tab, there's a command group called themes. And by default, every workbook that you use starts out with the Office theme, which gives you the Office style set. That's just the name they call it. But there are other style sets that you can pick from by changing the theme. I can go ahead and change it to these on the bottom here, the built-in ones. Let me change it to this organic theme here. And it automatically changes the font, the style. And it also, if I go over to my home tab and look at my cell styles now, you're going to see that it's changed to a more organic palette color. Now, what you can also do here, I'm going to go ahead and add in a little cell here called the date. And I'm just going to put in the date in this cell by putting in a formula called equal today. And the parentheses still need to be there, even though there's nothing inside of them. And it will always give me the current date when I open up this workbook. Equal today. Cool. And I just want to color these ones up too a bit. Just going to make it a gray. And I'm also just going to make the color here a little bit red to stand out, so we know what date this report was ran. This is also a style. This is a style, but you created it. What you can do is you can actually save this formatting style into your workbook, so that the next time you have to add a date on another sheet, you can just click that button to style it. So even if you don't like the ones that are built in, you can always go to New Cell Style at the very bottom, and whatever you have highlighted will be created as a cell style. So I'm going to call it the date and hit OK. So now in my cell style window, I now have a custom area for dates. And if I need to, on another worksheet, if I need to style up something with the date, I can select it and just click on the date option now. It styles it up for me. So now that I have this here, just a little bit of my setup, what I want to do is I want to add in some columns of data. I want to add a list. That's what we call these things, where we're tracking the servers or the waiters. And I'm going to hit tab. I'm going to hit tab to go over there. And I want to track their weekly sales. I'm going to click on the tab key to do that. Tab. Instead of clicking with my mouse, I just click on tab. And I'm just going to type in week 1. There's something I just realized. I made a mistake. I added in an extra S. Sometimes I do that when I'm typing in cells. It just happens because my fingers type fast. Maybe I drink too much coffee. I want you to know that if you need to go back to the left, like the Beyonce song, and you need to edit a cell, you can use Shift Tab on your keyboard. These are just navigation shortcuts. And now that I have Shift Tab back on my keyboard, I can use the formula bar at the top to edit. And they have bottomless mimosas on Sundays. So that's coming up. And I just fixed that there. I'm just going to click Tab to go back over to week 1. I have a question for everybody. I'm gonna say a term, and you're going to tell me if you know what it means. Autofill. Let me know if you've used it before with a yes, I have, or a not yet. Good, 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 good. It's okay if you have it. You're about to see it. I like. I'm going to use autofill right now, because autofill will go ahead and correct me and allow me to add week 2. I can add week 3 and week 4 without even having to type it in. And just so you know, autofill also works out with months. So if you wanted to expand and add in months, that would have worked as well. So what I'm going to do here is just type in another column called total. And I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to go down over to this cell here. This is a good question. This is a good question. Let's talk about this. Janae said, what about every 2 weeks? I want to see, so let's say we want to start with week 2, and then we want to go to week 4. You can highlight. 1 second. So this looks like it's not going to work with the value in it, but here, let me do like 50 and 100. If you highlight more than one cell, what you're basically saying to autofill is to find the pattern. And the pattern amongst these 2 cells is plus 50. So how it's going to work here, it's going to go 150, 200, 250, because it's adding plus 50 for each one. So we had both cells highlighted. But that won't work if you have a value in between it. If you have a word, a string, they call it. Yeah. Will it work with dates? That's a good one. Let's check. So we have today's date. And then I'm not going to put tomorrow's date, but I'm going to put 9/5/2021. Now let's see if it can skip. Oh, that does work. It does work. Man, that was a good question. So it does work with the dates. 9/5, 9/7, 9/9, 9/11. Yeah, that's a good one. Let me go back and delete that there and type in week 1 and go back to week 4. Cool. Let me just add in some fake server names here. Here, I'll type in Bill Gates, Elon Musk. I know, right? What a team we have here at my restaurant. Bruno Mars too. He does an amazing birthday song. I'm gonna go happy, amazing. That's why I hired him. Yeah. And let me go ahead and add in one more. We'll leave it at 3. It's a small staff right now. Not too many in-person dining. Now, what I want to do here, just to have my spreadsheet have some fake data, is I'm going to use autofill to just add in some sales. I'm just going to add in some sales by incrementing 20 going across. Just to add in some fake sales data. And just to quickly copy it down, I'm just going to drag this down for all the salespeople. There's something I want you to know. If you are using this to display numbers like currency, money, what you can do is you can actually use a keyboard shortcut to assign the data type. I usually use the Control, Shift, and the number 4 to add the dollar signs around the numbers instead of going to my Home tab and clicking on that number. If you notice, even the number 4 has the dollar sign on it. So that's how I usually memorize that. It's a simple, quick trick to memorize it. Control, Shift, 4. Yeah. And then, of course, because I don't need the decimal places, what I like to do is I like to go to the Home tab and just hide them. I can hide the decimal places for myself. You know, there's something I want to point out to everybody now. It's all about using the small details in Excel to your advantage. In 2016, when you started to highlight a piece of data, there's this little area that pops up, this little square. This is going to help you immensely to do calculations and to do functions, to do a sum, to do a max, a min, an average. So if you feel like you have a hard time doing that by hand, try checking this little area because there's a section called totals. And when I give it a click, what it allows me to do, I'm going to make it bigger first. Let me go ahead and zoom into it. This area allows me to find a sum row. It lets me sum up the values as a row. It lets me find averages, to count, a percent of the total, a running total, or a column for totals. I also have a little arrow here that I can click to find an average column, a max column, things of that nature. I usually use the quick analysis tool when I'm building these total columns, just to save my time. So I'm going to do the sum one. I'm going to do the sum one here. This quick analysis tool, unfortunately, is only available if you're on a PC. And now I'm just going to call this one total here. So the spreadsheet's looking good, but what I want to do is I want to style it up a bit because I'm going to end up printing it out. And I want the headers, remember on a list of data, we call the top of it a header. I want them to be formatted a little differently. I'm just going to go into my styles command group, and I'm going to pick one of the header styles that I have from the organic theme. Instead of just creating it, I'm just going to pick one of these in here. I'm going to highlight all of the cells. I'm going to go and create a heading too. Looks good, looks good. And I'm also just going to highlight the total column. And I'm going to add a total format to it. Now with these server names, I'm going to highlight them. I'm just going to add some color to it. I'm just going to highlight the week values, just using the style sets that are available to add some colors. And here, I'll add this one here. The styles don't center the titles. Check this out. They aren't centered, you're right. But I do have a wide variety of tools in my Home tab inside the alignment command group. In fact, the most default ones that most people use are the tools to align it just in the center or to the left or to the right. But there are times that when I'm printing out things that I change the text direction. This just makes it look a little bit fancy here. Let me open up the text direction area and format the cell alignment. I can actually angle the text a little bit from here. Here, I'll put it at a 45-degree angle. Yeah, sounds like, especially when you have long titles, you can utilize this. Yeah, what I like to do, especially when I'm printing out things, is I highlight them, and I add the border. I add the squares around the cells. So that way, when I print it out, everyone knows what cell goes with what number. Yeah. So this lets you put long text in cells. This lets you add bordering around the cells. Yeah, let me just select the all borders option. I started from scratch here, and this looks pretty good. This looks pretty good so far. But there's something I also require from this spreadsheet. I really want an area to where we can track the notes. Like, I just want to track the weekly notes that we have for the sales. So I'm just going to build a little section here called notes. And I'm just going to type in week 1. And I'm just going to drag down my autofill to week 4. And I'm going to highlight this area. And I'm going to go up to my styles. And I actually have a style set called note. And I just want to make it look like a little sticky note. And I'm also just going to get these 2 cells, and I'm going to merge them together. And I'm going to put the word notes in the center of it. I'm going to put the word notes in the center of these 2 cells. So with these 2 cells highlighted, I'm just going to go to my Home tab, and I'm going to select Merge and Center. Merge and Center. Put that together there. And also, I just want to add the borders around this. There we go. Things are looking clean. Things are looking smooth. I just realized something. I want this notes to be right here. I just messed up. I want it to actually be right here. This is like magic. Let me highlight this area, and I'm going to go to the green border. And once I see the 4 arrows, a compass, once I see a compass, I can actually move that chunk of cells because I wanted it over there instead. Now, because this area is more of an area that the managers fill out, again, please, yeah, I actually need to adjust it. I want to move it a little bit over. Someone said again, so let's just adjust it. I want to move it a little bit over, like right here. So what I can do is I can actually highlight the chunk of cells. And once I go to this green border, I'm going to end up seeing a compass there. Let me point out, when you're on this line, you'll see a compass. And then I can just drag it. I can hold it with a click and I can drag it. I can move it over. No need to count the blocks. Easy peasy. Now what I want to do here is I want these 2 columns to be able to be opened and closed with a click. I want to expand and collapse them. So let me highlight this. I'm going to highlight these 2 columns. And from the View tab, sorry, one second, View tab. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to hide this, and I'm going to create something known as a custom view. So that way only certain people can show that view. And then when we want to print it, we don't have to show it. So let me build a custom view here. Because I'm going to sometimes view this as a manager. But sometimes my employees will view it. Yeah, I don't want them to see the notes. Let me go ahead and hit add here. And I'm going to call this view the original, which is going to show the note section. And then when it comes time to printing it, I want to build a view where I hide it. And I'm going to build another view. And I'm going to call this one print. And hit OK. So when it comes time to actually changing these views now, I have an area to go to. I can show the original, add in my notes, and when it comes time to print it every month, I can click on print and hit show. So someone's saying that they're getting a message that they can't drag it with the merge cell. I'm not sure why you're getting that, but I'm almost positive if you were to go to the Home tab and unmerge the cell and then move it, it will go ahead and work out for you. Maybe an older version of Excel won't let you move merge cells, and Office 365 does. But if that's the case, just unmerge the cell first and then move it. I just saw that pop up, that question there. Let me go ahead and merge this again. Absolutely. So let me go back to the view tab here in my custom view and go to my print view and show that. Cool, because that's going to be the view that I print. All right. Things are looking smooth on this spreadsheet. Things are actually looking pretty clean. Now, what I want to do here is I want to point out that this spreadsheet, although it's useful to look through, I do plan on hiring more servers. I do plan on eventually, I'm just going to get this data here, and I'm just going to hire more servers. So that's eventually going to happen. Let's just flash forward a year. Let's just pretend they all have the same names too. Although me and my older brother have the same name. Now, with this being here, when I have a spreadsheet this large and I'm scrolling through it, there reaches a point where I no longer can see my headers. Because I have so many salespeople now, I can't even see the headers. And I don't know if this says quarter one, week one. Is this the average? Is this the total? So what I'm going to do here is I want to talk about a feature that allows me to lock and to freeze certain sections of my spreadsheet. I can freeze this section. So that way, as I actually scroll, this section stays intact and only the bottom half goes down. Sounds like I used to know how to do this one and I forgot, and I understand why. Because there's a little rule about it. There's a rule about it. Here, I'll write it out on a text box. So if I have row 5 selected, and I go up to my view tab, because we're adjusting the view of the workbook, they added the view panes, the freeze panes option inside of the view tab. Let me put a little screenshot of how that looks. Freeze panes. So if I have row 5 selected, everything above that row will be frozen. I'm going to choose freeze pane there. And now as I scroll, you're going to see 4 is frozen and everything above It's frozen. And as I scroll through the spreadsheet, just the bottom half goes through. Let me go ahead and unfreeze the panes. I'm going to go to unfreeze panes. There also are scenarios where I've had my participants in my sessions tell me, they're like, this is great, but I have a complex situation. They're like, I want to freeze the top, but I also want to freeze the first column. So that way, if I scroll left to right. Now, what I can actually do is I can put my cell address box on the intersection where it touches the rows. You see it's touching the rows and it's touching the column that I want to freeze. And what I mean by touching here is I mean this little line here is touching each other. This line and this line. It's touching the row that I want frozen. This is touching the column that I want frozen. So if I have my sub address box here, I'm essentially implying that I want this column and I want these rows frozen. Let me go ahead and go back to my view tab and select freeze panes. Now, as I scroll to the left and the right, I can see I'm fine. And as I scroll to the bottom, I can see that the top four are frozen. Let me go ahead and unfreeze my panes here. Now, keep in mind, everybody, you can also just freeze a column. If you want to freeze just a column, you can do that. Everything to the left of a selected column is frozen. So one of the rules is above. That's for rows when you want to freeze them, and for columns, it's to the left. That's the key to remembering how to use flash fill. So if I select this, everything to the left is frozen. So I'm going to go ahead and, oops, 1 second, to the view tab there, freeze panes, freeze panes. And now just the columns frozen. Not the rows, I didn't freeze that part. Or maybe I did, 1 second, did I? Yeah. Unfreeze. Select column B, freeze panes. Yeah, there we go. Okay, things are looking good. Let me go ahead and unfreeze these panes. Unfreeze these panes. There's something I want to do. We're getting close. We're getting close to Q&A, and I just want to talk about what we've learned. But this data is going to end up being sent to my data analysis team. And they told me something. They need the first name and last name column separated. They need Bill and then Gates in two separate columns so that when they build their pivot table reports or they're building their reports, they have that separate data. So I'm going to right click and insert a column to the left-hand side of B. I'm going to right click and insert a column. And I'm going to type in last name. And I'm just going to type in Gates here. And I'm going to hit enter. Now, when you have Excel and you're having a version that's 2013 and up, most of us have that already, 2013 and up. You can actually go to your data tab. And if you have a situation where you want to copy a name, a value, or a pattern into these other cells, you can actually go into your data tab, and there's a tool called Flash Fill they've released. Flash Fill. And I usually use the keyboard shortcut for it. I don't even click on it. I use Control and the letter E. And what it allows me to do is it copies the pattern that I'm trying to mimic. And it pulls the last names from that cell. So I'm just going to update this column to be called first name. Kathleen freezes it. Split will let you have different scroll bars. You have a scroll bar that you can use for each side of the screen. Now here's the thing though. This feature flash fill will only work when the data is on the left-hand side of the column you're trying to create. So I had to build the last name column to the right-hand side of it. It only works with the data to the left-hand side. Yes, I can do it one more time. So just, you have to give it one example. And then when you go onto a new cell here, you can use flash fill from the data tab. Or my favorite is using the keyboard shortcut Control-E. And it copies the values for me. And then I just updated this to first name. No problem. Now here's the deal though. I've spent about 50 minutes here creating this spreadsheet. I don't want to do this every month. I don't want to waste 50 minutes of my time designing this color, designing this labeling, aligning things. I don't want to do that every month. Now that I have this created, I actually want to save it as a template. The first thing I'm going to do here is remove data that will be irrelevant next time you need it. So this means I can remove the weekly sales before I save it as a template. I want to reuse this every month. And anytime I open this spreadsheet up from the start screen, I can just type in my sales and the formulas will kick in. I'm going to go ahead and show you that when I go to my File tab and choose Save As, and I hit Browse, the Save As box that pops up, there's actually a special file type called Template. Now that felt really weird for me, what I just did there, where I went File, Save As. What I normally do is I just click F12. I just want you to know that. I hit F12 on my keyboard, and what F12 does is it opens up the Save As box. So that was a lot of steps for me. But the Save As box pops up, and inside of here, we have a file type called Excel Template. I'm going to select that file type. It will automatically show you the templates that you already have. It's very important to not change the location. I'm just going to call this one the fast food template here. Oh, looks like I already have that name. Fast food demo. I'm going to call it that. And when I end up hitting save here, the third step is I can access the template from start. So if I go to my File tab here, I have the option to access that template now. Anytime I need to reuse that template for another need or another month, I can click on the templates and view my personal templates. There's the fast food demo. I usually pin my templates. That's what I do. I pin them to the list here. So that every time I need to reuse the template, I can launch it directly from here, which I already have open. So even if Excel was entirely closed, if I close this out here, I'll hit save. And I open up my Excel again. I don't have to go find that file. That file is a template. I have a lot of plugins, that's why it takes a while, but there's my fast food demo. Let me go ahead and click on that. And now I can just start typing in my monthly or weekly sales. And then I can save it as its own copy. File, save as, I can go ahead and call this month of August. Oh, it's September actually. And then, you know, the next month comes around, October comes around, Halloween comes around. You don't have to go looking for that file when deleting things. You're just fine with reopening Excel. You've built in a new spreadsheet to Excel. It will always be there until you go and delete it from that folder. I can create it and I can just continue on and I can build another month and another month. Everybody, when it does come time to print out your workbook, if you did need to print it out, remember we set up custom views for that. The File tab does have print options. And if you're noticing things aren't fitting exactly the way you want them to, you can adjust the orientation of your paper directly from here. Or you can resort to scaling options. Scaling options even, fit sheet on one page. And it goes ahead, and sometimes the fonts get really scrunched up when I use scaling, but landscape orientation versus portrait or using a larger letter size helps me out a bit. Everybody, what I want to show you here, I know we have about 5 minutes, and Carly, I'll give you the stand in just a second. I want to hear from the group though. I want to hear, what's your top takeaway? What's your top takeaway from today? It's been an hour, about an hour. What was your favorite thing that I showed you? Version center, style sets. If you were going to use style sets, save templates. Those go hand in hand. We can save a lot of time formatting. Flash fill is a big one. Oh, Peter Paul, welcome. The ease of formatting, saving a template, freezing panes, scrolling templates. F12, I'm glad you picked up on that. F12, making your own 12 templates. Need a new software update. That's a good takeaway. Just that now that we know that. Excel templates, being able to set options where you don't need to print notes. Yes, custom views. Shift tab to go back. I need to take these classes again when I have 365. Yes. Save as templates, shortcuts. All right. And everybody, this content that we discussed is based off our Excel introduction course, mainly for module 1 here. There's actually 3 different modules. There's a beginner course, an intermediate course, and an advanced course. If you did feel like these topics were a little light for you, intermediate covers the pivot table. The advanced class covers macros with the VLOOKUP as well. So just depending on what outline you need, but this is just a little flavor, a little taste, like Carly said, of how these classes would run if within the time frame that we have. Carly, do you have any last minute things? I don't want to take all of your time. Do you have any last minute things you want to finish off with?
Thanks so much, everyone. Just if you enjoyed today's session, just show Faz a little bit of love in the chat. Kanu, thank you so much for your kind feedback. I love using the reactions, love the little pause button, but Faz, I just want to say thank you so much. I think I myself and our community always gets so much out of your sessions. And just like Faz says, we do have full-length workshops on these topics. So I'll just share a couple of ways that you can dive deeper into this community, both from full-length workshops, and then just in our community to take advantage of more community programming. So as Faz said, we do have, these are a couple of public workshops we have coming up. We'll put a link to the Learnit website in the chat. Marissa, if you don't mind doing that, that would be awesome, just to the Learnit website so people can view those there and you can browse all the classes we have coming up. And these range anywhere between 2 hours and 6 hours in length, or you can split it up over 2 days. We'd love to have you. And the other thing we mentioned was we have a community called Offsite. So we'd love to see you all in our free community. The most immediate benefit of Offsite is that the recording link will be posted almost immediately after this session. Faz and our other expert instructors are also in there to answer questions. So if you want to attach your own Excel file and say, hey, I need help creating a pivot table on this specific thing, you can actually attach your file and Faz or one of our instructors will get back to you within 24 hours. So really encourage you to keep the conversation going there. And there's also exclusive Ask the Expert sessions every Wednesday led by Marissa and one of our expert instructors. So there's a QR code there to scan. Again, it's completely free and our weekly programming is free. And this is what we have on the docket for free community programming for September. So we have a lot of exciting sessions to kind of slowly dive more deeper and deeper into Excel. We'll be focused on pivot tables. We'll be playing around with data visualization later in the month, and then talking more around how we can use data and all the visualizations we're learning to make in Excel to make better decisions and be better leaders. So, and everyone who attends all 4 events in September, you'll be sent a badge of certification as an Excel power user. So definitely encourage you to come back. I want to thank everyone for being here. We really do value your participation, your engagement, and that's what it's all about. So thank you, and please reach out to myself or Marissa with any questions after the session. We're here to support you. Awesome. Thanks so much, Faz. Thanks, Marissa. We'll see everybody next week. Happy Friday. Enjoy Labor Day weekend. For those of you that have a 3-day weekend. We'll see you soon. All right. Bye, everyone.